Hi Queens, I wanted to talk with you guys about the Universe pageant. So I competed at Mrs Elite Universe last, August. And this is a pageant that's run by Sabrina Pinion. She's the director out of Georgia. The pageant was held in Georgia. And there are quite a few age divisions. You have the Miss, the Teen, the Ms, which is unmarried. And then you have the Mrs., and then there's an Elite Universe, which is the title that I won for women over 45. So this pageant system is emphasizing on swimsuit. You do come out in costume, but you don't have to be worried about being judged on it or graded on it. There's no prize for best costume. And then you have gown and a 5-minute presentation in front of judges. So there'll be a panel, usually between 3 and 5 people. They're usually women. They'll be at a table in front of you. You'll be in a room where all of the contestants are located. Also there, if they have any guests or any former queens will be there, the director's there, everyone's there. And you're making a presentation related to your platform. You're telling them about what you've been working on, what your interest is as a title holder, and basically giving a 5-minute presentation about what your plan is as Mrs. whatever it is or Ms. whatever that is. So when you're competing with this system, just know that the stage is, I'd say it's one of the brighter stages that I've competed on. So I think you could really wear a myriad of colors on that stage. Sabrina is a very passionate director and she's interested in everyone. I'm not going to throw the ball again. She's really hoping I'm going to throw that ball. I'll throw it in a minute. I'm going to throw it in a minute. Nope. Okay, next. She's very passionate about the Pledge program. And the Pledge program is a program she created before she went to Mrs. Universe. And it's essentially to help women in domestic violence situations to take responsibility for who they allow to love them. She has a wristband that she gives to everyone she speaks to. She also talks to kids about kindness, using their words with kindness, and that's called the Kids Pledge. And there's also a pledge for men. And the man's pledge is one that's obviously about caring for and taking care of women and standing up for them too when they see abuse occurring. And there's also a pet pledge. So for someone who loves animals, you could easily make that the focus for your title as well. The pet pledge is about non-abuse of animals, whether you're a vegetarian or whether you do a lot of work with rescues, or perhaps you're someone who loves fostering animals. That could work as well. But you could really pick any elements of those. You could have your own platform separate from that. If you're someone who had grown up in a foster system, or we had quite a few women who competed who were from the Ukraine. One of the women in my division, she ended up winning the Transcontinental title. So one good thing about this system that I have to just point out to you, I had to fix that extension. One thing you need to know about is the first runner-up gets the Transcontinental title. So that's why it's called Universe TCP. That's what's on the banner. That's also how you'll hashtag it too when you're hashtagging about your title. Sabrina was the international title holder for the Mrs. Universe pageant. That pageant that's held overseas is a separate entity, but she has a United States or USA division or directorship for the system. So she's able to send one woman to Mrs. USA, or rather Mrs. Universe as Mrs. USA. And that's a completely separate thing. So I didn't compete in that division because I knew they're not going to want anyone my age for that title. Generally speaking, I'd say 30s to 40s is the highest that they would go for the international title. So I just know that and not interested, girlfriends. But for those of you who are younger, if you've got the figure for it and you want to compete on that stage, then you just want to compete and win the USA Universe. So that is a separate area that you could win USA Universe. You would just enter under that. So I know it's a little bit confusing, which is why I wanted to create this video so you could understand. So Mrs. Universe is held internationally. Mrs. USA Universe is held at the same time as my title is held. So you'll have all of those titles, the Ms., the Mrs., the Teen, the Miss, the Elite, all being crowned on the same stage. And then Transcontinental also being crowned. So first she crowns the Transcontinental, which you know is the first runner-up. And what's nice is that gives other people opportunities for crowns. Now the woman who won the Transcontinental in my division, she's in the Ukraine. She's been very well celebrated there. She's really promoting what's happening in her country, and she has a director there who's thrilled. Sabrina also honors one delegate with a special title, which is really to honor her and the service that she's done. So whether or not you win the title of Universe or Transcontinental, she still has one more opportunity to win. So there's one more title, and I'm trying to think of, I can't remember the exact name for it. Essentially, it's like Woman of Inspiration. So it's the Woman of Inspiration. You get a banner, you get a crown, and that's for one woman who really captured her heart, like that you had an amazing story. In my division, or rather in the whole pageant, she was from my division, this woman had adopted, I think it was 11 children from all over the world. And I was like, oh my gosh. So when I heard her presentation, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, how are we going to beat that? That's a pretty amazing story. I mean, talk about selfless, taking care of like 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, 11. And guess what? I'll put the little cherry on top. And the kids are special needs, okay? Like, just how do you do it? I don't know, but she's a saint. So she did receive the Woman of Inspiration Award. It was her first pageant, so I don't think she was entirely prepared, like stage-wise and performance and gown and all that. So it was nice that she was able to leave with something so that she was honored for her amazing work that she does and her story. So there's a lot of opportunities. This pageant is being held in September this year. So I believe it is let me see if I have the dates. I'm thinking it's like the 18th, but I just want to look. Hold on. So it was a pretty low pressure pageant in terms of, you know, I've competed at Mrs. America, Mrs. United States, Mrs. USA Earth, Mrs. United Nations, all of that, which was a lot more higher stakes, a lot more pressure, a lot more competition. And now I can't find the date. So anyway, I will post it in my post. I am not seeing it. So I'll post it within the post. Okay. I wanted to show you this crown because it is the most glorious crown I have ever won, and I've won a lot of crowns. First of all, it is a full, they call it a bucket crown, and it's actual metal. It's not cheesy plastic or fruity tooty bendable aluminum foil. This is fully cast on the interior. She put this fuzz on the inside so it'd be softer for our little heads. It only works for like an hour and a half, and then you're like, okay, it's heavy. But look at the T for Transcontinental. There's nothing on your, if you win the Universe, you only have TCP on your banner, but the T is there for either you're winning this crown, whether you win Transcontinental or whether you win Universe, you will win this crown. And look at the detail. It is literally like lace. She did a remarkable job of creating this unique crown. Never seen anything like it. I love all of this detail. It's almost like wheat or floral, like what you'd wear in the Olympics around your head. I love the bigger stones. Then she has the pear shapes that are surrounded by stones, front, back, side, center. I mean, every time I go to visit a domestic violence shelter, the women want to try it on. I wore this to the Breaking Free shelter, which is where women are recovering from being trafficked. And I took many pictures with them wearing it. They just love it. So everyone loves it. It kind of really does just fit on my head. I never wear pins, by the way. A lot of people ask me, how do you pin it? I actually don't. I just am able to manage and hold it on my head. I kind of nestle it on there enough so it's good unless someone hit me, of course, and then that would be it. But you know what else I love? This is not a crown where I've had stones fall out. And I've had the Mrs. America crown, stones fell out. It also tarnished. I mean, a lot of my other crowns, like stones would pop out. I'd be trying to glue them in. Never happened. The quality on this crown is second to none. This is I'm just going to tell you, like, this is my ultimate. As soon as I saw this crown, I was like, girl, you need to win this pageant. Woo! I just got too excited about this. It really was like, oh, I need it. I need this crown. So anyway, this is the crown. I think you can tell I'm excited about the crown. I bring it with me usually on appearances. So like the crown, I'll only wear it if it's a gala or something that's more dressy. But if I'm going to a shelter, I don't go wearing it. I don't want to be overly like, oh, look at me. I come in, I'll wear the banner, but then I let everyone try on the crown. So that's kind of how I usually do it. If it's a walk or something casual to raise money that's outside, I'm not wearing the crown. I'll have it in the box or something, like a crown case. But I feel like if you're doing a walk, it's going to be hard with this on, and I don't want to have it fall. So I usually just do the banner, and then you bring the crown for pictures. You could take pictures, then put it back in the box, and then continue along with your appearance. So in terms of this pageant, I'll tell you that Sabrina provides all food, your hotel, everything is paid for except for your flight. You do need to fly into Georgia. It's McDonough. I think that's what it is. McDonough, which is a little town in Georgia, really cute. And we went to eat. We went to the M&M. I didn't even know there was an M&M museum, but there is an M&M museum. It was kind of cute. And then we got to try all the different sodas that are apparently manufactured by them. We then did another day. We went to the aquarium. That was pretty cool. I really enjoyed the aquarium. There were some shows. And basically the ladies got opportunities to all kind of do things together, go to lunch together, go to dinner together, go to these events together. We did photo ops. We went to a dinner at it was an estate, and it was a historic building. So we took pictures there, and we had a dinner that was brought in from a sponsor. So that was really nice. So you're going to save money in that you're not spending money on your hotel. And also she doesn't require you to pay for your ad page. Your ad page is included. If you do Mrs. America, it's like $1,200 for your ad page. So comparatively price-wise to Mrs. USA Earth or Mrs. United States or Mrs. America, this pageant is a lot more affordable. In terms of the experience, it's less pressure because you don't have all these dance routines that you have to work on for an entire week or for several days. I really hate that you're indoors practicing and practicing and practicing this little routine that maybe goes for like a minute, right? And I remember back in the day when we all had to sing with our dancing, and I was like, oh God, this is just not working out. Well, anyway, we rehearsed for a whole week for Mrs. America. And then when we came out, guess what? No one could hear the music. So we were all off. It was horrible. So I don't know. I think they learned a lesson about the sound system. You need to be able to hear when the music is starting and your cues, right? To be able to sing or dance. Kind of need that. Just a thought. So there's none of that. With our pageant, you're coming out in your costume. You're crossing the stage with another contestant. You both land in the corner and then you walk off. Simple. You don't need to do anything at all. So there's no routine to learn. So that's why you have a lot more time to do more interactive things and spend time together. Sabrina does do a presentation about the pledge so you can learn more about it, but I highly recommend you go to her YouTube channel, which will be, I believe, if you look for her on Facebook, it's Sabrina Pinion, Mrs. Universe 2014. And then on her YouTube, you can look up Mrs. Universe and Sabrina Pinion, and she'll have like the pledge campaign. For the first month, since October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that first month is when you're going to do the most related to the platform of the pledge campaign, because that was my platform right now is called, Empowering Women Through Employment. And the reason I chose that is because I've been working with Dress for Success for many years. I'm a mentor with The Dwelling Place, which is a domestic violence shelter. So I meet with my mentee once a week. I never post pictures of her. That's just not what you do when you're dealing with victims of domestic violence. So that's, just so you know, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I'm not going to be posting her. But I do post when I go to, let's just say, when they're trafficking alumni, they love getting their pictures taken. So they're all about it. And then I also do mentoring for people who are living in shelters and they're overcoming any kind of addiction or abuse or sexual slavery. They're all really in together in two different facilities. So I went and met with them and I spoke with them and mentored them. So I have their pictures, only the people who wanted to be in the pictures. So always just give them that option so that they can decide if they want to be posted. I don't post names or anything like that, but just to kind of give you a little guideline. So I was already involved with this, and it just happened to fall into my personal experience with domestic violence. I was previously married, and my husband was an alcoholic. I had also been in another abusive relationship where he was an addict. And it's very challenging because a lot of times you think you can solve the problem with that person or help them, or you feel you're responsible. They blame you for why they're drinking or why they're doing this or why they've reacted this way. So it's a very challenging situation to leave. And for me, I felt like what kept me there was not having the money to leave. So for me to have the job that I have today on TV as a TV host and being able to be an ambassador for different jewelry lines, as well as having my coaching business, I now have freedom, financial freedom, which I never had before. So I always felt like I was tied or stuck, or I couldn't get out, or where am I going to stay? What am I going to do? What job am I going to get? So there's always that struggle of financial. And when I spoke to the women at the shelter, they did say the same thing, that money is a lot of it. You know, another is the emotional abuse, and you feel there's like a sick attachment to your abuser where you don't have confidence to leave because you have this, it's an attachment. And unfortunately, that does happen to a lot of victims, whether it's you're sexually trafficked or just physically or mentally or verbally abused. It's hard to leave your abuser because there is a bond there, whether or not it's healthy or not. It's still a relationship, and there's still that knowledge of the person, and it's hard to pull yourself away. So anyway, that's what I'm doing, is sharing my story to women of how to leave or how to gain employment, how to be independent, how to start believing in yourself again and take action, and also to have faith. I think that that's another thing that Sabrina really brings to this system, is her faith. And faith is really important for me in my journey, because I think that when I was trying to do everything myself, I wasn't always able to accomplish, achieve, or strive or get out of situations. But when I put my faith in God as to what would I do? So when I leave, what am I going to do? I left, and then I left it to God. And God is the one who then delivered my TV hosting job. That happened after I left. But you have to be making the right choices and right decisions before God's going to present an opportunity in front of you. Like we have to, they say, and sin no more, follow me and sin no more. So just get out of whatever you're involved in and then trust in God, and then he will provide for you. So that's the message that I give. Sabrina is very much a Christian, and she is interested in, if you do have a relationship with God, that you can share that. It's not like you have to hide that or feel as though that's not part of your presentation. If it's part of who you are, I always coach my clients that if you do have a faith, I think there's no problem in talking about it. You just don't want to bang people over the head with that you have to agree with me. I'm not telling you you have to do it. I'm sharing my experience. So when people share their own experiences, that's their experience. They're not telling you what to do. So there's a different way in the approach. And I think that the more that we live a life that's inspirational, that's outreaching and helping others, that's being positive and uplifting, you're going to be leading a life of Christ rather than telling everyone to go do it. You're just doing it. So that's my philosophy, at least, is rather than saying it, just do it. And the pageant system itself is all about, every month you'll have a different to-do. So as I said, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so you'll be promoting that. You'll be promoting the pledge. And then she has another, let's just say this month, I'm educating everyone on the Universe system. So this is my go-to, is I want to help you understand what the system's about. Because I know for me, I really had to ask a lot of formers questions before I entered, because I don't like entering into a pageant unknown. I need to know, what's the deal? What's it based on? What is the presentation about? Well, what is she expecting in terms of the presentation? So how often should I be doing the posting? All of those things, I had all these questions. So I tried to ask as many as I could. I still didn't have them all answered, to be very honest with you, but I just dove in. First of all, I loved that there were queens that I knew. They had positive things to say about the system. And one of the former queens, she just went on to win Mrs. America. Yeah, Nicole. So she's a former, she went to Mrs. Universe, the international competition. I believe she was first runner-up. I'm guessing she was first runner-up. And then, of course, years later, she did Mrs. America and won. So, you know, regardless of where you go in your pageant journey, what's nice is everything can lead to something. Like maybe this is the title you're meant to win today. Maybe you haven't won anything, or you've really tried so many times but you've never accomplished the goal. This could be your day. You know, for Nicole, that wasn't her day, but now is her day. So you just never know. But you always learn something in every pageant that you do, at least I have. I learn a lot about myself. I learn a lot about what my weaknesses are, my strengths. I have very often I'd walk away from a pageant that I didn't win and I said, you know what? I gave it 100%. There's nothing more I could have done. And I really don't go back to pageants. I compete once and I'm out. So for me, I give it that 110%. And if I don't win, then I move on, because I just feel like, well, you know, it's not for everybody. Every system is not for everyone. And if you know you gave 100% and you couldn't have done more, then maybe it's better you move on. Plus, my experience says that coming in first runner-up at nationals, there's like that little fine line, right? And I feel like if you were first runner-up, then maybe don't come back again. Like, that's just my philosophy, because I feel like first runner-up, are you really going to be able to come in? You already were your best. How much more are you going to improve for the next time? So I think it can be risky coming back. So I just personally haven't done it. At state, I think it can work to come back. Absolutely. It's just that on a national stage or international stage, it's rare to see. It happens occasionally, just not all that frequently. So I highly recommend my system. All the ladies in it are amazing. Lindsay Berman, you can look her up. She's the Ms. Universe. She is a former top 5 at Miss 4 America. Gorgeous. Her body's amazing. She's so sweet. Her wardrobe was fantastic. She was literally flawless. Okay. Then I have Heidi Shear, Mrs. Universe. She also very seasoned pageant competitor. I believe she was top 5 at Mrs. United States. I think she was top 10 or 12 at Mrs. America. She's won Mrs. Worldwide. She competed for the Universe title. I did not do Universe. I thought Lindsay Berman was in Universe. So I said, I'm not going to beat Lindsay Berman's body. So I'm going to go to the Elite category. So I had jumped up to Elite because I just thought, girl, I'm just going to go with where I feel like I know I can be successful versus an unknown. Then it turns out that Lindsay was the Ms. So I had no idea she wasn't married. So whatever, it's all meant to be. And I was happy to have Heidi Shear as my co-queen. She's my Mrs. Universe. Her gown was gorgeous. Her stage work is flawless. She's very experienced and just does so many amazing things in promoting anti-bullying in her community, because her son has autism and she's traveled to many different states to present the pledge campaign for kids and do her anti-bullying campaign. So she's just amazing. So I really think we have some really strong queens. And then I have Deborah Vallis. She is the Ms. Elite Universe, and she's also she's always posting. She's always active with our military, with survivors of abuse. She's a former survivor and just very inspirational, beautiful lady, very experienced in pageants. And you might want to follow her as well. But if you can follow our pages, you'll be able to see our journeys. And please contact me if you have any questions about the Universe system. No matter what your age division, I can answer those questions for you. And as I mentioned, Sabrina she's an amazing director, but I want to mention she's in Hawaii. So she's on a different time zone. So if you reach out to her, you could reach out to her on Facebook. That's really where she lives. She doesn't really do a lot on Instagram. So I would focus on reaching out to her on Facebook. You can reach out to me on Facebook as well. Wendi with an I at the end, Russo, of course. And you can follow my page, which is Mrs. Elite Universe TCP. And I also have a private group called The Winner's Way, which is kind of pageant chat, if you want to join there and ask me any questions about the system. So I'm really excited. I hope I get to see you guys at the pageant. Please, please Think about it. I know that a lot of you have tried some other systems. Maybe you felt dejected after your last one. You felt disappointed. You didn't win. You didn't place. You're like, I understand how that feels, but you know, new pageant, different day, different judges, more prep, right? And I'm happy to help you with your preparation along the way. So I really wish you all the very best of luck, and I hope to see you there in Georgia. Bye, ladies.